Hi, I'm Jeremy, and today I'm going to show you a crazy pick up and deliver / dexterity game by the name of Kapitän Wackelpudding. This game is well out of print. This version was published in 1994, only in Europe. There was a more recent printing, which comes in a long tube as opposed to a box, and that version might be easier to find. But this is a crazy dexterity game where players are going to be collectively controlling a wooden ship to move a bunch of goods across a map, and they will have to stack those goods up so that when they fall, they will be forced to take them as negative points at the end of the game. The game is for ages 7 and up, and it plays for 2 to 5 players in about 30 minutes. I'm going to take a moment to show you some of the rules of the game, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts on it. Okay, so here we see the board for Kapitän Wackelpudding, and this is about what the setup would look like at the start of the game. You have this ship, this wooden ship, which is going to start in this green video island, I suppose this is, this island at the start of the game. And each of these islands, there's 6 of them. Well, 5 of them will have these good types on them, so these are coffins at Dracula Land. Over here at Kindiern, there are these bonbons. Video Island, we have video games, and then what is this? Mousestralia, there are blocks of cheese, and in Banana Atoll, there are what the game calls raspberry fruit roll-ups. So you're going to be collectively guiding the ship from port to port, transporting goods, and from time to time, you're going to have to stack them on the ship. If ever those goods fall off of the ship, you'll have to take them in front of you as points of shame. So this is the basic way that the game works. On your turn, you will roll, and you will look at what color it is. If I rolled green, because I'm already at the green island, I would simply stack a good, and you could stack it any way, except for these cylindrical ones. You're required to stack on the flat side, but you could stack it on there, and that would end the player's turn in this case. But let's say another island was rolled, then the player is required to, before the ship leaves the port, to stack a good on top of it, on top of the ship, and this could be stacked on the side of the ship like this, or on the stack of goods that's already there. You are not allowed to rearrange the goods that are there. You can only add a good to the ship. And then, after the player has loaded the good, they're required to move the ship, not through land, just through water, until it's at the other island. So they would do this, and this is where this dexterity part of the game really comes in. And there's no time limit on this. The player just needs to make sure or hope that pieces do not fall off. So there, that player would succeed, and that would end their turn. Then when we would roll again, we got a yellow. The player would need to transport over to here, but this time, before they leave, they have to add yet another good. So this could move across, and that'd be fine. And you can see this is going to get increasingly complex. So now a red good, they have to go through the red dot. So they'd be required to add this on. So they do it like this, and they're trying to move the ship. And there, I've dropped a good. This would go in front of the player as a negative point for the end of the game. And they would continue to move the ship until they reached the island. It's only once they make the successful journey that they would end their turn. So the game will keep going like this over a number of rounds. One thing to note is this island here, Schnackard Land, which does not have any goods. If ever the ship leaves that space instead, the player will draw a card before they go. And the game comes with German cards, but off of a Board Game Geek, I printed out some English cards and sleeved those. And there are 3 types of cards. There are command cards. There are rules for all, which would affect all players. And then there are keep cards. So I'll show you an example of each, although they have a lot of variety. So let's see. So here's a rule for all. It says at the top there'll be some flavor text, and then at the bottom it'll tell you what actually happens. So this one says it got dark and a dense fog is now all over the ocean. And then this one says until a new card is turned up, players must load items on their ships with their eyes closed. So that will stay in effect until a new card comes up. This one here, the keep cards, these you would hold in your hand, So this one, for example, it tells you that when a player sails around Kindian, so that's one of the islands, you may play this, then you must immediately roll a fruit roll up onto your ship and continue your journey. So you would just have to add this. And then the third type, the command card, and the way these work, they give you another requirement for the active player. So this one, it says sail to Himbir Atoll, load up 2 fruit rolls, and take them to Australia. So the player would need to immediately do that and then sail to the specified space. So the game will keep going with players moving from space to space, collecting goods, losing goods, and collecting them in front of themselves until there are fewer than 3 goods on all of the lands. So each land has to have fewer than 3 goods, and then at the same time, the next collapse will prompt the end of the game. Players will look at the number of these markers, which are now shame markers in front of them, and whoever has the least amount of shame will win. Alright, so that is Kapitän Wackelpudding, and I think, as you could tell from the name, this is an eminently silly game. You know, every aspect of it, from the stacking of goods up on your ship to the the various cards that have puns on them and random jokes, and then even the tasks that they give you, such as load the goods with your eyes closed, or if you're a righty, use your left hand, and vice versa. All these things are silly and are just designed to help add to the fun of the game. Even though it was published over 20 years ago, I think 1994 was the original printing. It's still really unique. There aren't really any games I could point to that and say that this is like Kapitän Wackelpudding. Certainly not in name. So I think it holds up really well. The only bad thing is that it's hard to track down. If you're looking for a dexterity game like this, it would be worth the effort to find one. Like I said, there was a more recent second printing. I believe that has cards instead of a board that you use, but otherwise, has the same basic mechanics. And the game, it's random. There's going to be, times that you draw a card that just ruins your day, and, there's going to be times that you roll a die and you get to skip moving the ship, and these are just, par for the course in a game that's just light and silly. And, of course, some players are going to just have shaky hands. They'll never be able to move the ship across the board, like me, for example. And, I think if you're playing in the spirit of good fun, all of that will fade away. It won't matter, and it'll just be about the fun time spent while playing the game. So, again, some rules translations are required for this game because the cards are in German, the rules are in German. You could print both rules and new cards off of Board Game Geek. Otherwise, it's a very approachable game and one that I would recommend. So those are my thoughts on Kapitän Wackelpudding, and thanks for watching.